actually crazy to sit here and think about all the iterations of Peter Pan that I grew up with. We had the Disney classic Peter Pan, which I of course watched as a kid. We had my favorite, we have Hook. I love Hook. We had the 2004 Peter Pan, which I would love to rewatch. And a very underrated version, Mary Martin's version, which I watched on VHS tape of her play version. Did anyone ever watch that? And then a couple years ago, we had that awful Hugh Jackman Pan movie. So we've got a ton of Peter Pan movies. So it's cool to see another version.
Here's Johnny. My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates.
Expecto Patronum!
Peter Pan and Wendy stars Alexander Molony, Ever Anderson, and Jude Law, and follows the adventure of a boy who does not want to grow up, and he recruits three brothers in London, and together they embark on a magical adventure on the enchanted island of Neverland. From director David Lowery, who gave us A Ghost Story, The Green Knight, which I've come to love, yes, and he actually did a Disney remake, Pete's Dragon, which is fine. It's no classic Pete's Dragon, but now we have another Peter Pan movie. This one's called Peter Pan and Wendy, and it's only coming on Disney Plus, which is actually crazy because you think Peter Pan is marketable to go into theaters, but hey, Disney execs, they do what they want to do. And this movie only had my interest because of David Lowery. He's a very great director. A Ghost Story is really underrated. A Green Knight took me a while to really love, but his style of filmmaking and what he does with story is so good that I wanted to see what he could do with Peter Pan. And yes, David Lowery is my biggest positive because he makes a great looking movie. He gets great performances out of everyone in this movie, and like I said, the movie, the cinematography, the colors, even though not as colorful as different iterations of Peter Pan, I think he did a very good job with this entire production. I give big applause for that because, again, it's another Peter Pan movie, and I will say it has your basic Peter Pan story, but the thing is, when you have a different type of style, maybe a different type of story points, it can be really good because a lot of these remakes Disney's doing, they follow the basics, whatever, like Lion King, which a lot of people just didn't like. It's just because it's live action, CGI, whatever. For this version, we get more of Wendy. She's in the title this time, and this time we get a more descriptive details of her point of view, and I really appreciate that. I really like her conversation between her and Peter Pan in the very beginning of this movie. When they get to Neverland, you meet Hook and everything. When they get to that section of the movie, it definitely follows Peter Pan's story, and I didn't hate it. Again, this movie is not like blown me away. This is not my favorite Peter Pan version of this story, but I can appreciate the movie trying something different. Ever Anderson as Wendy is actually fantastic. She steals the entire show for me. She's very, very good in the comedic moments, the dramatic moments, and I liked Alexander Molony, sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, as Peter Pan. He was good. He had the charm of his style of Peter Pan that I grew up with, and I just appreciate the both young performers in this movie, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. But obviously, we got my boy Jude Law as Captain Hook, and I got no issues whatsoever. I mean, he's not Hook to me. He's obviously not Dustin Hoffman. That's my Captain Hook and always will be. But this version of him, definitely more tamed evilness, not as big, whatever. There is big moments, especially when the Croc shows up. It's definitely Captain Hook. But Jude Law's performance, I really just appreciate it. Again, everyone in this movie is just good in their roles. That's great by David Lowery's performance of all of his actors and with the script and everything. That's good directing, because if you get good performances, that's due to the director in each cut of the version. And like I said, the story itself, in the beginning, a little different. There's a few different details, different viewpoints, how the camera moves, whatever. The movie itself is made really well. Production, costume, I mean, everything is there for this movie. So why am I not in love with this movie? I think the biggest thing, I just think out of all the Peter Pan movies I've ever seen in my life, this is not the one I want to rewatch. And I know what you're thinking, that's unfair. You're comparing it to other ones. And I'm sorry, I am. I've grown up with many versions of Peter Pan, and I would say this is not my favorite. It's better than Pan, I'll say that. But I can say I'd rather watch the Disney version, I'd rather watch the 2004 version, and I'd rather watch the play versions from the 50s that I grew up with. But this version's not bad. I'm just saying, compared to what's out there, I'd rather watch a different version of Peter Pan. And speaking of Disney Plus, seeing the CGI value in this movie, I can say it's not very good. I feel so bad saying that. Maybe it's due to the budget they worked with, that they had with. I really didn't like the CGI. It was pretty bad. The Croc was the best looking thing, but whenever there's Tinkerbell, them flying, it looks bad. I mean, it looks bad. And again, budget constraints, I completely understand, maybe from that viewpoint. But with such a Peter Pan story in Disney, that's kind of shocking to me how bad it looked. And that's really shameful. And then finally, biggest issue, 100%, the thing I walked away saying, why is the ending? The final few minutes, actually, ruins what they're doing with this movie. Because this whole movie is acting a little more different. There's more detail, there's more grit, there's more dramatic moments with the story. And it's working so well and so different that I'm like, all right, I see it. The last few minutes say, nah, that we don't want that. We want Disney. Hey, there we go, happy ending. And it was like, what? It feels like David Lowery didn't want this exact ending. Just from my opinion, just looking at the movie, these last few minutes ruin themes, things you just see. It feels such like a cop-out, and it's left me so sour tasted that, again, there's other Peter Pan versions I'd rather watch, but for what this movie was for Disney Plus, I enjoyed the watch. It's not horrible, I will say that. It's not a bad movie. It's good. It's just not my favorite Peter Pan, and it could have been a lot better with some better CGI, a better ending, and just more of just taking risk. There's risk in this movie, but just a little more. This could have been an all-time classic Peter Pan version. I'm gonna give Peter Pan and Wendy a B-. So I would love to know, comment down below, what is your favorite Peter Pan movie? There's a ton out there. I've probably missed a few, but hey, I love Hook. I love Hook a lot, and do not hate on Mary Martin's version of Peter Pan, especially if you've not seen it. It's cheesy, but it's awesome. Growing up as a kid, it was lovely to watch on VHS tape. Anyway, guys enjoy this review, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.